also created this hybrid They may have also created a hybrid race of reptilians that are mixed with human genetic material, and to show dominance over a lower class, part of the ritual is to eat people. But I almost think sex and conquest and brutality and the eating of the flesh is more ritualistic than it is something that they have to do, you know? Like, they are 100% playing God. They're playing God.
They're eating us.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind about that, and that is obviously some of the darker nuances of the phenomenon.
Nathaniel Gillis is kind of just saying that.
You say that, people are like, you're crazy. You know what I mean? But again, for the uninitiated, for the neophytes out there who would suggest that, no. Right? For us who actually, especially with Ted's
Walmart, I've got Swerve coming to my son.
The phenomenon face to face. It's irrefutable. But I can tell you this with a surety, that even vampirology has a measure of this intelligence, where it was not just harvesting the secretions and excretions just to take them or to self-replicate. It was the ingesting of them that filled them with some kind of power. Right now today, I should say,
cruise control.
Right now today, there are factions
let it drive when it's ready.
Practitioners
I ain't dealing with this
who are drinking blood. And from that, they're getting some sort of power. But absolutely.
So it'll just drive on its own.
But I want to throw something in there. Self-replication.
I did get kicked off of autopilot.
Now I've seen a little different
We're half
there,
a week.
but I'm not disagreeing with you. I certainly don't know everything.
And that would be.
But I have seen them take
Walmart.
from me and from others semen, eggs from the female, get down over the female and right in her face, appearing as her lover, so she would be grateful for the experience and loved. And then what they did was they went and they created clones out of that material. It was a replication of the human itself. It had nothing to do with alien
yes.
And that's all I'll be eating today. I'll probably do another protein scoop later.
Yes, so that's another pathology that was demonstrated in the Apocrypha. As John has said, that they made copies of bodies. We would consider them clones. Strange.
Okay. Well, what's the difference in a clone and a hybrid?
Well, I would suggest that a hybrid is for them. A clone is, it could also be another biological avatar to which they could possess. It's just like one of the experiencers Dr. Carla Turner worked with, where she looked over in the corner, it was another her. Yes. And they told her, if you do not cooperate, we'll send that version of you back, and nobody will know it's not really you.
Autopilot. Yeah.
That's terrifying. So I believe, again, that our ancestors were doing their very best
Dr. Barbara Turner
to articulate what they were experiencing. Sometimes they fell short. But what they did give us is some vocabulary, some case studies to where we know, okay, like for instance, Lamashtu, the entity that would descend down upon pregnant women at nighttime, stare into the eyes again, and the women wake up the next day, the baby's gone. What is that? And so they were doing, again, through mytho-poetic literature, they would say, okay, these are what we are experiencing, these case studies. We don't know what it is. But thankfully now in modernity, we're starting to look at these bloody footprints in the snow, put them together and say, look, a lot of this sounds like what we're dealing with today.
I saw those 3 or 4 month old fetuses taken from women.
What's up, Tone?
You almost here?
Yeah, you got your gummy bears just now, right?
Yeah. Just now.
Yeah, they should have gotten delivered just now, it says it.
Alright, bye.
Okay.
human women, and they were used
Cheeto gummy bears.
as you might say, a buffet or banquet for the praying mantis. Their arms
Another
and
type of
legs
alien
were
praying mantis
dismembered,
alien.
and their chest cavity was split
But
open.
how many of these things
And
were
these
created?
mantis, I stood there and I
Like when you
watched
look at
them
biblical
feed on
antiquity,
the bodily
the
organs of
Raphaim,
these little fetuses. And
how many of these were created?
so
This is
it's
a freak
feeding
planet.
program. And basically, in my opinion, and I stand to be corrected,
I don't think they need to
It
eat
all
people, but then when you
boils
look at David Paulides and the disappearing people, the documentation of that, there's a lot of people missing all the time, hundreds of thousands.
on human flesh and blood.
And on Sean Ryan, they even talk about this.
On all levels.
Eric Hecker and
Yeah, I agree in the fact that
And Stephen
the
Greer talks
deception
about
is
this
through
too.
and through. I mean, but what I'm
There's
looking
human
more towards
trafficking.
is like, okay, how much influence do they have over us? Because
Like,
you've
they
seen it
actually
as well,
traffic
where
human
people
beings.
have the worst experience anybody could have, and then 10 years later, like, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And it's like, who is
Every cloud has
convinced?
a silver lining.
Yeah. And it's like, who's convincing you of
doesn't
this?
the Bible say that Satan's in charge of this planet?
Oh, I'll tell you
Good
what
point.
it says is that he changed himself into a being of light. How many times have we heard that, my friend?
Yeah, well, that's a lie.
I know, isn't it? And I'll tell you what's awesome too is not awesome, but I think again it solidifies our foundation. Is when the Collins elite. Let me get back into this research. They were
I'm eating every bit of
they were a
cheese.
group of physicists. They were a part of the Department of Defense,
then we go
our
charge.
federal government. Well, they were in charge of
Then maybe watch a
researching
movie.
any and all interconnectivities between the UFO abduction phenomenon, demonology, and the occult. And so they went to a contemporary of Aleister Crowley. Her name was Sybil Lake. She moved from the United Kingdom to
Sybil.
Los Angeles.
That's a
They
witch
sat
name right
down
there.
with her, and she was what they called a white witch. And
There
they
ain't no
asked
such
her,
thing.
"Can you get in contact with the entities?"
There are
that
better.
Aleister
There's better
Crowley
and there's
was
worse,
in
but it's all
contact
bad.
with. So she went into her thing, her session. She's channeling this intelligence. They're interrogating it, and they're asking this being, "Are you an extraterrestrial?" And this entity started laughing them to scorn and said, "You idiots, of course we're not ET. We're demons of old. This is just our newest deception."
And that's a good place to end it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.